Ricky Gervais has returned to Netflix with a very unusual project, an adult animated comedy about a group of foul-mouthed, feral British cats. Called Alley Cats, the 6-episode series has already attracted plenty of attention, but not all of it has been positive. In fact, some critics have described the show as one of the weakest projects of Gervais' career, arguing that its crude jokes and repetitive humor fail to deliver the sharp social commentary and emotional depth that audiences have come to expect from a comedian. The series follows a gang of street cats as they deal with friendship, rivalry, survival, loneliness, and the absurdities of everyday life. Gervais voices Gus, a lazy, rude, opinionated cat who becomes a central character of the story. The basic concept sounds like something that could have worked extremely well for Gervais. The comedian has spent much of his career combining uncomfortable humor with observations about human behavior, relationships, death, insecurity, and social hypocrisy. Putting those ideas into the mouths of animated cats gives him plenty of opportunities to exaggerate human behavior while keeping the characters ridiculous. The show also has a deliberately retro visual style. Its warm, hand-drawn-looking 2D animation has been compared with classic cartoons such as Top Cat, creating a contrast between the charming appearance of the characters and the extremely adult language coming out of their mouths. That contrast is clearly intentional. Alley Cats is not designed as a children's cartoon, despite its animal characters and colorful animation. The dialogue is packed with profanity, sexual jokes, insults, discussions about death, and deliberately offensive material. Gervais has never been afraid of controversial comedy, and he has openly suggested that he expects some viewers to be offended by the series. The problem for critics, however, isn't necessarily that the jokes are offensive. The bigger criticism is that there simply aren't enough clever jokes underneath the shock value. Several reviews have argued that the constant profanity eventually becomes predictable rather than funny. One of the strongest criticisms of the show is that its vulgarity can feel repetitive. Instead of using offensive language as part of a carefully constructed joke, some scenes appear to rely on profanity as a joke itself. That can work occasionally, particularly when the audience is caught off guard, but when the same approach is repeated throughout an entire series, the shock begins to disappear. What initially feels outrageous can eventually become background noise. Critics have argued that this is one of the central weaknesses of Alley Cats. The show frequently tells viewers that it is being provocative instead of actually producing consistently clever satire. The comparison with Gervais' earlier work is particularly damaging. Shows such as The Office, Extras, and After Life became successful not simply because they were provocative, but because their humor was often connected to recognizable human behavior and genuine emotional moments. Gervais could make audiences laugh at an uncomfortable situation, and then suddenly make them feel sympathy for a character. Critics of Alley Cats argue that this balance is largely missing. The new series has moments where it attempts to explore loneliness, friendship, death, and animal cruelty, but those themes can become buried underneath the constant stream of crude jokes. The story itself follows a group of feral cats who are essentially trying to survive and find companionship while navigating the streets. The characters come from different backgrounds and have very different personalities, creating the foundation for a traditional sitcom. Gus, voiced by Gervais, is lazy and arrogant. Other characters include Ponce, Fang, Puke, Olive, and a young kitten named Kitten. The setup gives the writers plenty of opportunities for conflict and comedy, but some critics believe many of the characters are too one-dimensional to make the emotional moments truly effective. Interestingly, the animation itself appears to be one of the elements that has received more praise. The series uses a distinctive 2D style that feels intentionally old-fashioned rather than chasing the highly polished computer-generated look associated with many modern animated productions. The visual approach gives Alley Cats a nostalgic identity and helps separate it from other adult animated comedies. There is a clear connection to classic feline cartoons, but the content is aimed firmly at adults. The voice cast is another major connection to Gervais' previous work. Alongside Gervais, the series features performers including Tom Baston, Andrew Brooke, David Earl, Kerry Godliman, Joe Hartley, Diane Morgan, Natalie Cassidy, and Tony Way. Several of these actors have previously worked with Gervais, including members of the Afterlife cast. That familiarity gives the show a recognizable comedic voice, but it also creates another comparison with Gervais' earlier projects. Fans who were expecting the emotional chemistry of Afterlife may find the animated cats a very different experience. Another interesting aspect of Alley Cats is Gervais' genuine affection for animals. The comedian has been an outspoken animal rights campaigner, and his love of cats is reflected in the project. The show isn't simply an excuse to make jokes about animals. Beneath the profanity and absurdity, there are attempts to explore how animals interact with humans and how cruel human behavior can sometimes appear from an animal's perspective. That gives the series a more sincere foundation than its outrageous marketing might suggest. However, this is where the series seems to divide audiences. Some viewers may appreciate the fact that Gervais is completely committed to his particular style of humor. Fans who enjoy his willingness to offend and his cynical observations may find the show's deliberately ridiculous characters entertaining. Others may feel that Gervais has simply repeated the same formula too many times.